Imagine yourself aboard an alien space vessel in deep space, traveling in search of life among the stars. Manning some contraption beyond human understanding that you, as an alien, understand to help navigate the stars. Suddenly, an alert on the system awakens your senses. Some foreign object has entered the periphery of your vessel's route. While you do not know it yet, it's an unmanned vessel launched from a little blue planet called Earth, many thousands of lifetimes ago, with shining, melodic cargo aboard that will change your life and all life as we know it. Since time immemorial, fascination with the skies above and what lies beyond our world has gripped mankind. Each society, regardless of faith, religion, or creed, has stared up at the stars and wondered what was really up there, and whether we were alone in this universe or not. Today, we tend to view the search for alien life through the fictitious explorations of Mulder and Scully in the X-Files. However, some real-life scientists even wanted to believe. One of the most prominent of them was astronomer and exobiologist Dr. Carl Sagan. He helped to compose both of humanity's first attempts at communications with beings outside of our solar system. My name is Donahoe, and welcome to Hornet Radio's Golden Record series, where I will act as your guide to the cosmos with a musical twist. Today we'll be covering a bit of history surrounding man's first attempts at human-to-alien communications through math, pictures, and music in the Voyager Golden Record, and its predecessor, the Pioneer Plaque. Post-space race between the US and USSR, the United States was eager to project its technological power both here on Earth and to the stars. While the USSR was the first to launch through our atmosphere, reaching towards the stars with Vostok 1, the United States would be the first to exit our solar system into open space. Pioneer 10 was created with the intention of collecting information on Jupiter and various environments in space. However, only a couple of months before its launch, Sagan had an idea to include a plaque that detailed information on the spacecraft's origin, as if to say, "You're not alone in this cold and vast universe. Come find us." And after getting approval from NASA, the plaques were planned out by Sagan and Frank Drake from Cornell University, and drawn up by Sagan's wife, Linda Sagan. These plaques were then placed before launch on both Pioneer 10 and its twin that launched a year later, Pioneer 11. Washington Post reporter and author of Captured by Aliens, Joel Achenbach explains that, quote, "The most striking and controversial part of the plaque was a drawing of two human figures quite naked. They were drawn by Linda Sagan. Her drawing was simple, and years later hardly looks offensive, but feminists were upset. The woman has her arms by her side, whereas the man raises one hand in greeting. He, therefore, is the figure of action. He's doing something, while she's just a lump. Perhaps worst of all, he has genitals and she doesn't." There's a lot of speculation regarding the anatomical discrepancies between the two figures. However, the running theme I found in my research was that ultimately, we don't know who decided to remove the labial line, thus creating Pioneer Plaque Barbie. But we can assume that the decision was made by higher-ups at NASA, who were concerned with what could have been perceived as profane by the general public at the time, or their own self-subscription to purity culture and modesty culture. Another shortcoming of the plaque was the failure to make the figures appear more racially ambiguous, which had been the intention, although you really wouldn't guess it by the looks of the plaque. I mean, these folks look like they could be my cousins. Despite these concerns about how humanity has been presented, there's nothing that we can do about it now, other than move forward and learn from it. But this also begs the question of who this plaque was even made for, the aliens or humans? More on this later. For now, let's move on to the star of the show, the Golden Record. The year is 1977, and NASA successfully launched Voyagers 1 and 2, with the primary mission to capture new and exciting information about Jupiter, Saturn, and their respective moons. And thanks to a rare syzygy that only occurs every 176 years, the two spacecrafts would be able to pass by the planets and be propelled by their gravity out of our solar system into deep space, at an even faster rate than that of the Pioneer twins. Aboard the two spacecrafts rests a unique time capsule of sorts, a shining gold-plated copper record with recordings of greetings in 55 languages.
太空朋友，您好，您食饱未？有闲就来阮遮坐哦。 تحياتنا للأصدقاء في النجوم يا ليت يجمعنا الزمان.
Kay Pachamatna, Pitapas, Maitapas, Rimapayast, Runasimiti.
안녕하세요.
Oiknis poteste chairete, airenikos pros philos elelithamen philoi.
Hola y saludos a todos.
Želimo vam sve najlepše sa naše planete.
ప్రియ డుమెలీసా మారేనా.
నమస్తే. తెలుగు మాట్లాడే జనముల నుంచి మా శుభాకాంక్షలు.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
Nature sounds ranging from a babbling brook to whale calls, and is home to a collection of music from various time periods and cultures to serve as representation to humanity to any spacefaring life forms. But who decided how humanity was going to be represented? NASA brought back their favorite local interplanetary communications expert, Carl Sagan, to head a committee that debated amongst themselves what the intended view of humanity was to look like. On this committee, Sagan called for Drian to be the creative director of NASA's Voyager Interstellar Message Project. Drian spoke with NPR reflecting on disagreements of what to include or omit from the Golden Record. Of course, there were debates on what music to include. Drian wanted Chuck Berry because she viewed him as, quote, one of the geniuses and progenitors of rock and roll, which ultimately made the cut, marking it as one of the only modern songs included on the record. As the committee continued their debates on what to include in the music portion of the Golden Record, there was an issue. Almost every song was Western classical music. With hopes of diversifying the record's contents to better reflect our world, Sagan sought out American ethnomusicologist Alan Lomax. Lomax contributed 15 of the 27 songs included on the Golden Record, and while his contributions definitely diversified the record, as a whole, I do always wonder, how would these nations and peoples want to be represented? And how would have it differed from Lomax's choices? Unlike other records we know and love, the Golden Record is also home to a collection of pictures, which opened a whole other existential can of worms, largely around the question of whether to showcase humanity's failures, such as images of genocide, war, and poverty. Ultimately, it was decided to not include these images depicting these tragedies out of fear that they be interpreted as a threat, which would directly undermine the record's ethos concerning extraterrestrial life and any potential collaboration with humanity. The record cover is etched with instructions of how to use the record, along with two other symbols, the 15-lined radial diagram depicting Earth in relation to our solar system, and a hydrogen atom diagram, both of which were featured on the Pioneer plaque, which Sagan describes as, quote, a schematic representation of the hyperfine transition between parallel and antiparallel proton and electron spins of the neutral hydrogen atom. Say that 10 times fast. The record itself was cut in Boulder, Colorado, and pressed in Gardena, California. And while I'm not sure who inscribed to the makers of music, all worlds, all times on the record, it's likely that aliens will not understand this message, if they ever intercept either of the Voyager twins. The message was likely an homage to the many people who had a hand in the creation of the Golden Record. The purpose of any time capsule is to send greetings to the future saying, here's what life was like at this time and place. We just wanted to say we're thinking of you and hope that you don't forget about us. So it's important to take stock of who were the creators of the Golden Record and what their concerns were, which for Sagan was largely climate change and a nuclear winter, which also reflects the public's concerns that brought about the rise of the environmentalism movement and hippie subculture in the 60s and early 70s. And on top of this, many of the foundations for the environmental protections in the United States were brought about during this time. It's clear that conversations regarding the Earth's longevity and the age of man were being brought into question, and a natural response would be to try and leave a lasting legacy. So to answer the question I posed earlier, who is the Golden Record made for? It was for us, or at least for those who believe it represents them. For many in this world, the Golden Record means nothing to them, or think of it as simply a cool fact and nothing more. Others believe this was a huge accomplishment for mankind, and I don't think these beliefs are mutually exclusive. The universe is big enough for these kinds of disagreements, which reflects what I believe to be at the core of the human experience: reverence, discourse, and forward advancement. The Voyager twin spacecrafts entered interstellar space in the 2010s, and it brought back indispensable information regarding the outer planets in our solar system, cosmic rays in the heliosphere, and the interstellar magnetic field. Even more interesting, though, is the idea that the Voyager twins, and thus the Golden Record, will outlast human civilizations as we know it. It's very likely that by the time intelligent life will come across humanity's furthest reaching time capsule, we won't be there to greet them. Leaving us to reflect now on when mankind sent out a message to the stars, hoping and praying that the stardust we came from will remember us long after we're gone.